My whole reasoning behind wanting a well-trained dog is to be able to give that dog a better life. I've trained dogs for the public for decades before I became famous. We're developing family personal protection dogs. My passion, my love is educating the public. I want people to get the most out of their dog. I have 4 decades of experience, and now I'm here to give you practical advice on all things dog. Bow wow. Well, welcome back to a podcast, All Things Dog. I'm David Harris, and today we're going to be interviewing Jordan Fields here, and we're going to just be talking some interesting stories about his experiences with dogs. But just in case this is the first time you've joined us here on our podcast, All Things Dog, you'll notice when you look at the title, D-A-W-G. Why did we spell dog that way? Because we're not taking ourselves too seriously here on this podcast. We're having fun. We're helping you and educating you and telling some fun stories and just learning a little bit more about you and your dog. And as you interact with us, we're going to try to help you solve problems and just to give back to the community. Here at Protection Dog Sales, we've been very, very successful for decades and decades. I've been a master trainer for decades, and I've amassed a large amount of information, starting with my college experience and training dogs and going to West Virginia Canine College and being an instructor there and competing in sports, all different types of activities with dogs, from tracking, obedience, protection work, AKC obedience and agility. Literally had my fingers in all kinds of things, along with a large amount of problem solving with dogs for people. And that's where Jordan comes in. He has been in it, knee deep, having some of the worst dogs that you can imagine come to visit him at his former job. So we just thought it'd be fun to talk to him a little bit and see if he can recall some of the stories that he was kind of shocked and amazed that this dog would be walking through the door. So what do you got for us, Jordan?
Man, we've had a couple wild stories. Mainly one that got me the most was the time I saw the most aggressive dog that I've ever probably seen in my life. It was a Aussie and Pit Bull mix, and this dog was trained by its previous owner to be aggressive. Mm-hmm. So he'd play toys with him and punch him in the face.
Oh, and boy, that sounds like a great training technique. The toy punch in the face method. We love that.
And then if he let go, he'd punch him more. Wow. So eventually the dog learned to never let go, but regardless, he'd feel pain. So he got used to it.
Right.
And when this dog came in, the owner couldn't get him out. She was so scared. Muzzle came off, bit a trainer before, just on the way into the evaluation.
We didn't even get in the building for an evaluation when we already got blood.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know that sometimes obedience training can be a blood sport. So I always say firemen get burnt, policemen get shot at, and dog trainers get bit. And if you could zoom in, I've got some scars to show you that I've been in the trenches, and that's what Jordan's talking about. You know, it's kind of scary when you have a dog come through the door. You don't have a lot of history. You're dealing with people that physically cannot handle the dog. The dog is stronger than they are. The dog has learned these awful behaviors, and let's hear the rest of this story. This is getting good.
So once they get in, we used to do, record some of our evaluations, so especially the aggressive ones, just to kind of show the change from when they come in to by the time they get to the end of our session, and or just the training in general as a whole. And so I was recording, and typically we'll do something where the trainer will walk in with a dog and maybe put their dog in a downstay and then walk to the other side of the room just to see if the dog's more interested in a dog or a person. Didn't care. Dog didn't care. It was ready to eat anything. Mm-hmm. So
anything and anybody.
Oh, anything and anybody. Before we even walked in the room, we just showed our head through this little glass window. Slobber was already coming out. He was barking and growling so much, just everywhere. Spit was everywhere on the ground. He was biting his tongue because he was barking so much, so blood's everywhere. And I'd say the first session wasn't typically as successful as the typically how we get it done. But
let's be clear. Did anybody die in that first session?
no, nobody
So
died.
that
Nobody died.
is successful. Nobody died. So once again, the glamour part of dog training is often overlooked. Okay, we pack a lot of Band-Aids when we go to work some days.
Yeah, and so it took some time, consistency. The owner, at the end of the day, never really felt safe, which is completely understandable with the dog's upbringing. You know, there's a time where you never really feel like the dog's going to be completely safe. And, you know, but she was happy that the time that we did spend, she saw a difference. Even getting the dog to just calm down when people walked in the room was a success, and it was amazing to her, you know. And before we even got to the trainer, she had told us that her new boyfriend, she had introduced the dog to her boyfriend. And the first time he had came over, I guess he had brought a friend with him. And, you know, whatever, it got exciting. He tried to give his friend a high five, and that dog lashed onto his rib cage and worked his way down as it regripped all the way down to his ankle. So it tore up his pants.
Oh my God, the typewriter bite. Worst in the world.
Worst in the world. And but luckily, I guess the dude didn't really teach him how to grip and hold on, because that probably would have been a way more dangerous situation. But over time, over some sessions, we got the dog at least good enough to be able to handle people walking in the door. And, you know, we try to tell people, you know, dealing with aggressive dogs like that is a Pandora's box that's hard to close. The biggest thing is just making sure you're on top of it, you're handling the dog appropriately, making sure the dog is not put in these situations that neither you or the dog can handle. Especially if you want to keep an aggressive dog like that, you got to make sure you're doing the right things to keep it safe and everyone else around you safe.
Absolutely. So a little takeaway here, the little moral of the story here is, A, don't play tug of war with your dog and then punch it in the face. Okay, so that's not a good thing. But to get a little more technical into this story, is what he created was a defensive response. So the dog learned, if I don't bite, I'm going to get hurt. Okay, so this is very similar to how a lot of police or military dogs are trained, and maybe that's where he got the bright ideal to do this to his dog. And it was a bad idea. You know, it probably seemed like a good idea at the time, because he probably had a threatening situation. He lived in a neighborhood that was rough, and he needed that protection, or at least he believed he needed that protection. But there is an appropriate way to teach your dog to be protective, and there's an inappropriate way to teach your dog to be protective. And we're going to unpack some of these things as we talk here on our podcast, All Things Dog. We're going to learn more and more about the right way and the wrong way to approach these things. But, you know, that's a fascinating story. And that's, once again, people don't understand what we have to deal with as trainers. We don't have the luxury of picking and choosing what kind of dog is going to come through that door. Absolutely. We literally get up every day, put our pants on, and throw a leash over our neck, and we go to work, and we're like, what's going to happen today?
Exactly.
Now, you might be surprised to know that I have an Aussie Pit Bull story as well. Okay, does that surprise you?
No, not at all.
No, I've got some stories, because I've been at this a while. So I got a call, very similar. The dog was out of control. The dog was being aggressive. The guy was afraid something catastrophic was going to happen. And he wanted to talk to me about training the dog, but, weird twist, he didn't want me to come to his home. Okay, so I had met him at a restaurant, and I did the interview, and I talked to him about the dog, and we came up with a game plan. And the reason he didn't want me to come to his house was he was afraid he couldn't control the dog. He was afraid the dog was going to kill me on sight.
Yeah.
It was that bad. And I was like, surely to God, it can't be that bad. I'm pretty young at that point. I'm cocky. I'm like, I can handle this. But fortunately, I went prepared. Okay. So when we made an appointment for me to come to his home, and we had a plan, you know, of exactly how we were going to coordinate this whole thing. And I put on a bite suit, and I had a sleeve, and I had leashes, and I was prepared. And he came out the door, and the minute that dog made eye contact with me, it was on like Donkey Kong. And it was an Aussie Pit Bull mix. It was about 85 pounds. It was a monster. Brindle, powerful. And this was an older gentleman in his mid-60s, not in great health. And when he came out of his house, he's on a deck. And as he came to the edge of the deck, the dog started pulling him down the steps. I'm at the bottom of the steps going, oh my God, let's hope he gets the dog stopped before he got to me. He did not. The dog pulled him across the yard, across the driveway, and it came straight at me. And I raised that sleeve up, and the dog made a full bite commitment. This was shocking to me. Most dogs, similar to what you just described, that typewriter bite is a sign of insecurity. I'm going to bite you, but I don't really want to. I'm not going to hold on because I'm really afraid to. This dog fully committed to the grip. He came in, he gripped that sleeve. But, smart little old me, I had a slip lead over that sleeve, and after he gripped and didn't let go, I was able to slip that lead down. Owner had him on one leash, I had him on another leash, and now it was on my terms, and we were able to get that dog loaded into a crate, into my van, and then we'll leave the story of how I got him out of my van for another episode of All Things Dog. But, once again, just the telling of a story, but also talking a little bit about how do those things happen? And it happens a lot from just misconceptions. Like they think this is the right way to make a dog protective. They think this is the right breed to make. I couldn't think of a worse mix. Aussies are very tenacious dogs. I mean, they're bred to work cattle. Cattle don't want to be worked. They kick, they gore, they try to kill the dogs. And the dog has to be mentally tough. He has to be physically tough. He has to be quick. Pit bulls are physically powerful, and their instincts are very powerful. And when you merge those two breeds together, it's not one of my favorite breedings, to say the least. So once again, mixed breeds come with a whole set of new problems, and we're going to talk about those, how to evaluate the dog, how to put your hands on and get a feel for how the dog's going to react to stimulus, corrections, what is the right way to react. Because dirty little secret is most people, and I think your experience will bear this out, most people accidentally reinforce bad behavior. If they think they're coddling the dog, they think they're calming the dog down. When that dog is being aggressive, their instinct is to pet it. Okay, boy, good dog, calm down, calm down. And that is the last thing you should be doing. And, my experience running a boarding kennel, we got to see dogs on a regular basis come through the door. They were terrified. They were aggressive, based in fear, and that's one of the hardest kind of aggressions to deal with. And I always ask the people, like, how did this happen? And they're like, well, we never thought we would have to board the dog. We never thought we would take the dog anywhere. It would just live in our backyard. And I thought to myself, you never thought ever you were going to have to go on a trip, on a vacation, or someone's going to die and you got to go to a funeral? And they didn't. They just didn't think it through. So hopefully, through this podcast and the education and giving back to the dog community, we can help you better assess your dog, train your dog, pick a better dog as you're, talking about what dog do you want to introduce to your family, one that matches your lifestyle, your personality. All these things are important. And as we talked in podcasts before, there are 500 plus breeds in the world. One of those breeds is suitable for your situation, your lifestyle. I mean, if you live on a farm in the middle of nowhere, maybe you need a pit bull Aussie. Okay? But if you live in an apartment complex, maybe a pit bull Aussie is not the right dog for you. So we're going to be talking about more stories like that. I got stories. Jordan's got stories. Everybody that works here at Protection Dog Sales has got stories and scars. So nothing that will teach you more about training dogs than life or death situations. So pleasure talking to you, Jordan. And absolutely. Jordan's a big part of our team here, and we're very, very lucky to have him at Protection Dog Sales helping us develop not problem dogs for the world. Okay, it's a different world we're living in now, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So very happy to have him here and very glad to have you guys listening. So be sure to check out our next episode. We're going to be talking about more things, all things dog, and having a great time.
You've been watching or listening to the All Things Dog Podcast, hosted by Master Dog Trainer and CEO David Harris. You can visit David's company website at protectiondogsales.com or follow him on social media by searching David Harris Protection Dog Sales, where you will find tens of thousands of videos, both educational and entertaining.
Bow wow.